those of you who don't know me, I'm Taylor. This is my husband, Mike.
Hey guys.
Hi. And we are coming to you live, not live, actually, this is super previously recorded, but we're coming to you from our like half packed up house. We are divvying everything up and selling everything off because
We bought a sailboat. We're moving aboard.
we're selling everything we own, including the house, including everything in it.
We're going.
We're gonna do it. This is our channel here. This is our place that we're gonna be documenting all of our adventures and mistakes. And before we even get into the details and all of that, we wanted to put together an episode where we're talking about why we're fucking doing this in the first place. Why we came to this decision, why we're doing it. And so that's what we're gonna touch on today. Let's go ahead and get into it. We've narrowed it down to 3 really central main reasons as to why this is what we're doing and why we're going for it. The conversation itself on this topic has undergone a tremendous
Huge change.
evolution. What was the first thing I said when you brought this to me?
I think you kind of just like, okay, kind of patted me on the head. But at one point, I remember you said to me, you are never going to live on a boat.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I might have cried.
I looked right at him and I was like, well, let's get a boat. Let's go on adventures. I'm all for that. I'm never living on a boat. And
Who's
here,
now?
look at us. Who'd have thought?
Look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
So we've had a lot of conversations about this, like a lot of conversations about this over years. And, you know, I think that we originally kind of came to like an idea of what this was going to look like for us a while back.
Like a year ago, we kind of came up with an 8-year plan. And then this spring, like what, early May, you kind of came to me and were like, when is the earliest we can go? And we kind of sat around and talked about it and ran numbers and kind of realized that we had come to a point where there wasn't really anything holding us back from doing this now. And since then, it's been like full steam ahead, and
Yeah.
it's been a busy several months.
We just decided to rip the Band-Aid off and do it.
I think the seed really started like 10 years ago on our first trip to the Caribbean together. We went to St. Martin, and I don't know, I'd always grown up around lakes and had been on the water and loved being near water, but I think I got my love for the ocean from Taylor, and love for the tropics, and those parts of the world from that trip is where that started. And then our other travels after that kind of just grew on that. But when we moved to Seattle, oddly enough, Taylor was the one who wanted to live somewhere near the water, the ocean. But when we came here, I started to see just boats, because there's a ton of boats in the area.
Boats.
But I started to kind of become interested in sailboats. I just fell in love with them aesthetically and just how they work. And I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know what to Google to learn more. And then I stumbled across some YouTube videos, Sailing Vessel Delos and Sailing with Vagabond. And once I started watching those, that like kind of started to open up, I think, the whole world to me. I started to learn a lot from what they were doing, and I finally figured out some words to Google to figure out more about like what books to buy and things like that. So that's kind of where it started, but I just became like enamored with the whole lifestyle, and just kind of little by little, I just like the light bulb went off.
Let's talk about why we're doing this. Like I said, I distilled this down to 3 main reasons. Like if we had to kind of choose 3. I also want to say this, obviously, this is just our experience and our take on a lot of this, right? We're not like here to like shit on people who are like doing something that, right? We're just talking about our experience and the reason that we decided to do this for ourselves and made a personal decision to make a change. So the first one is just like our values and our just philosophy in general.
I think we've both always been a little bit predisposed to kind of going an alternative route. I mean, we met, you know, living in a ski town, kind of ski bumming and just doing things a little bit different than the normal path that people are expected to take through life.
And I think what's interesting about that is we are drawn towards that. And then, you know, we're coming to you from our house in Seattle that we bought, I don't know, 5 years ago, like right after we got married. And you know, I think we both kind of realized, I think maybe more so you than I, but realized all of a sudden it's like very sneaky, right? Like we had kind of like from this travel and adventure and moving every couple of years and doing all the things that we used to do, like all of a sudden we have this house in like the suburbs of Seattle that we like pay a mortgage on, and we're like very much in the straight and narrow that I think just kind of snuck up on both of us in a way.
It's not like that happened accidentally. Like that was, we intentionally made that choice. We were actively trying to create that stability in our life. So it's not like this happened accidentally. It was certainly on purpose. For me, it was just kind of like the routine of it, and you know, going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. That part of it for me was just not really what I wanted to do with the next 20 or 30 years of my life.
Yeah, and I think for me, it wasn't so much fulfillment based, but it was definitely value based. I started to realize that there was a huge dissonance between sort of the things that I really recognize that I value and are important to me, and what was actually, you know, what I was involving myself in and sort of the lifestyle that was unfolding here, right? Like, so I think everybody kind of has this idea of like what success looks like and kind of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to go about that. And like I said, I started to realize more how that entire ideology was just not something that was aligned with my own personal values, like at all. The collection of things, the consuming, the just like kind of like spending all your money on either shit that you just like pile into your house, or, you know, to be able to escape away for like 1 week a year, I think on like a vacation or whatever, like a lot of the regular kind of just the model that I think, you know, we definitely, like our generation definitely got sold. We just started to realize it just wasn't kind of like our jam anymore.
I think that part of it we did fall into a little bit accidentally.
Yeah.
Like, because it's what everyone does. There's nothing I don't think wrong with it, but you want to kind of decide like, is this adding value to my life?
Yeah.
And I think for us, we just found that a lot of the things we were doing and spending our time and resources and money on was not adding value to our life in the way that we wanted.
Yeah. So that's really number one, the values and the philosophy piece. Second of the 3 reasons why we're really doing this is, you know, once we realized that there was some dissonance there and it wasn't as fulfilling or as awesome, you know, this, I think we realized that we wanted to pursue an alternative lifestyle. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about like an alternative lifestyle. There's a lot of ways. Yeah. So why did we decide on this then?
For one thing, like travel is really important. And most of the places that we want to see in the world are also happen to be on the ocean or near the ocean. So it kind of gives you the opportunity to do that in a way that is reasonably affordable, and you can actually bring your house with you wherever you go. As opposed to like having to buy flights and hotels and all these things that make travel such an expensive endeavor.
Yeah, and I think, you know, opting out of the hustle entirely and just moving into a more like off-grid, like much more intentional way to live and being way closer to nature, having like our life, like our literal schedule be decided by the weather system and the wind and the current and the waves and the tide and the ocean. Like we can't do shit unless Mother Nature says it's okay, right? So
yeah, getting out into nature, I mean, it brings so much to your life. It's
good for your brain. It's good for your soul. So there's huge environmental reasons that we've been drawn to this. I mean, even in our life in our house here in the burbs or the urbs, I don't really know, are we urban or suburban?
Both.
Kind of
on
both.
The edge.
Kind of on the edge. You know, we have been really making a concerted effort to consume less, waste less, like buy less plastic, waste less plastic, and just generally make a huge concerted effort. So this is definitely taking that one step further and being able to, you know, create our own power with solar and create our own water. Like we've got a water maker, like I think is a real big draw for us as well.
Yeah, the intention thing, right? Like making those choices intentionally and thinking about every purchase you make and what your, you know, what its impact is. And then, the ability to just kind of live a more sustainable lifestyle is a huge draw.
All right, so we've got 3 main reasons why we're doing this. The first one is values and philosophy. The second one is nature, adventure, and travel, all kind of in one, environmental considerations. And then the second one, nope, that's not how you count. The third one is this idea of proactively going out and creating a challenge in your life that is of value to you. So I think that so much of our lives, and I'm speaking like from experience, I know you have too, like so much of our lives has been spent trying to minimize discomfort, trying to minimize challenge, trying to minimize risk. And I think there's a time and place for that, right? Where creating stability and certainty is like all you need, and it's really valuable and important. We are ready to push some chips on the table here and take some risks and ultimately live our lives, honestly. I think there's a huge tendency to put something like this off until retirement or till we're ready or till this or till that, and it doesn't really end up happening more often than not because ready isn't a thing. and perpetually waiting till the other side of whatever's in front of you, I think is just another kind of manifestation of culture that we live in. It's sort of this promise of the next best thing. It's coming right around the corner. Get ready. All the good things are gonna, and then all of a sudden you're like 70 and you're like, what? Where did all my fucking life go?
Yeah, there's never gonna be a perfect time to do it.
No.
And we just didn't want to look back 20 or 30 years from now and, kind of wish we had taken a big leap.
Yeah. We both feel so lucky to be in a position to be able to even consider doing something like this. Having some of the stability that we've been working to create, especially over the last 10 years in Seattle, have been a huge stepping stone to make this possible. Allowing me to really build my business here and spend some time focusing on that was huge. So now I'm in a position where all of a sudden our business can come with us. Just okay, are we going to continue to kind of fluff and keep the comfort and the security and kind of ride this out for the next whatever? Or are we gonna mix it up and push some chips on the table and take some risks and just go get after the thing that we're interested in doing now?
Yeah. And it becomes hard, right? Because you work to build stability. At some point, that almost becomes a trap. It becomes harder and harder to give that up. And that's actually one of the hardest parts about this for us, right? Is me leaving my job, a very steady paycheck. That gives us a huge amount of stability. It's also a job that I really enjoy and I love where I work. It becomes you become much more entrenched and it becomes much harder to extract yourself from that. Even as just you accumulate stuff, all the things, we're finding how difficult it is just logistically to get rid of it is really difficult. It takes a huge amount of work and a huge amount of time. It's been months of just doing that at this point.
Yeah. Our values and philosophy all of a sudden became mismatched, and we realized that in order to live in integrity with this, something would need to change. Being closer to nature, environmental reasons, wanting to live more simply, wanting to disengage from the hustle culture and just get much more in tune with the shit that actually matters to us. And then 3, taking some risk, doing it now, and just understanding that you get one shot here, and it's certainly going to be uncomfortable. And I know these words are going to come back and get used against me at some point. This is going to have some real challenge to it.
High highs and very low lows.
But if we're not doing that, what are we doing? What are we trying to protect ourselves from? What are we really doing?
We would rather live a life where you have big ups and downs than live just a more kind of safe, hum along life, which is nothing wrong with that, but just for us, I think we like having those crazy experiences and offsetting them with being uncomfortable is a fine trade for us, we think.
And I will lastly say, this entire concept, we were talking about, Mike really spearheaded. Is that how you say the past tense is? Spearhead. The way here, it took a while for me to get on board. There's going to be a lot of boat puns. A lot. Y'all need to get ready. Took a while for me to get on board with this, but I think a huge piece of what got me on board with this is that I saw it, right? If you don't know that this is a thing that people are doing, it's really hard to imagine yourself doing something like that, right? Being introduced to some YouTubers who are out there doing this right now, people our age, either going out alone or with their partner or even with their children, bringing their whole family out and doing this, now was a huge piece of me being able to get habituated to this as a concept and be oh, well, if they're fucking doing it, then why can't we? There's no reason. So that is ultimately why we're doing this. And we're filming this for you, because not only is this something that we are gonna want to call back on and remember and use to just remember this period in our lives, but I also just want to be able to model some of what's possible when you decide to take the road less traveled. Well, team, that sums this up, and I hope that this gives you a little bit of background and context for why we're doing what we're doing. We can't wait to bring you along on this adventure with us. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time.
See you.